What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Real Estate Uncensored. We are super excited for you to be here. I'm excited because we've been having lots and lots of fun pre-recording because we have multiple repeat, 7th or 8th or 15th time guest, Glenn Twiddle. The man is here. First of all, we'll bring him in a second. But before that, we have my junior grandmaster firmly ensconced in the co-pilot seat where he so belongs. Greg McDaniel. Greg, what's up today?
Of course I belong here. This is my seat. It's the only seat I have in my house. I have to stay in this seat. If I don't stay in this seat, I don't have anywhere to sit in my house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a beautiful day. Literally, there's no clouds in the sky. There's bright blue sunshine. The sunshine's not bright blue, but the skies are blue, and I got palm trees. Anyways, it's a great day. How are you guys doing?
It's been a while, Matt. I got to say, man, thanks for jumping on the last couple that I've been on, at least the last one. I tried to be Matt, and I tried to do the actionable ideas and strategies for live your life of freedom and all that, and I just couldn't do it as well as the great man, Matt Johnson. He's been too famous being MicroFamous with his book tour, but it's good to see you back, my man.
Well, I'm excited to be back with you. So I have not been absent from the show in general, but it's been a while since the three of us in this particular lineup has been together. Yeah, yes. So I'm excited for you to share this with your Australian audience. I'm excited to come down and speak on these topics and concepts and stuff that we'll cover today. Because I'm excited to get down there and get back to the great country. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
last time when you guys were here, you guys really brought the house down with stuff that you guys do. And Matt, what I loved about you is the way that you were able to put some of the principles that they've heard from me over and over again. You gave it some different language and things about how you and Greg absolutely live the principles that I taught real estate agents, unbeknownst to me, over on the other side of the world. And you were able to put some context around it, or some words to it, some labels to it, and why it works. I've just sort of done stuff, and you were able to really give us some reasons why it works and some sort of structure around maybe some of the strategies we've used. It was awesome to have you guys down here. Can't wait to drag you guys out of the country over there and get back down under.
Yeah, there's no dragging involved, my friend. Okay, it's a voluntary 12 to 15,000 hour flight down to see you. But Matt and I will definitely do it. I'm going to put Matt back in coach. I'll take business. It's okay. I'll take one for the team. But we're going to come down. It's going to be an absolute blast.
Deal.
That's right. There's nothing I love more than getting hit by somebody's hips as they walk past me in a very crowded airplane. It's one of the great joys in life. All right. So let's start here. So I think one of the common things, Glenn, that you and I have probably talked about for very many years, that is one of the key concepts from the MicroFamous book is just who your right people are. Like, how do you know who the ideal client is? And I've come to believe, both from working in real estate and then working with some of the top teams here in the States, and just all the people that I've talked to in and outside of real estate, I've come to this conclusion that ideal clients are made and not born, right? Ideal clients don't just crop out of nowhere. And if we go looking for people that are our ideal and we don't create the environment that attracts them and the environment that keeps them ideal, we have no one to blame but ourselves, which is a good thing because that means we can fix it, right? Yeah. And so that's part of the goal of being MicroFamous locally isn't just to have your name on big local events. It's not so that you can sponsor the local sports team. It's not so that you can dominate the local bus benches and have, homeless people's backs against your face all day long. As much as Greg would love that for all of your bus bench advertising.
Oh, you think that
I know you want to do
their backs, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I'm being,
their backsides. Their backsides.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not about that. It's not an ego thing. What being MicroFamous locally allows you to do is allows you to not only attract the right people, but then create the environment where they stay the right people. So I was talking to my business coach about this last year, and we're just talking through, and he kind of pressed me on what it means to be an ideal client. And so we talked it through, and he said something really, really good. He said, so here's what it sounds like to me. He said, an ideal client is someone that you love way after you cash their check. And I'm like, wow, like that's really freaking good. I'm like, yeah, when you think about it, that's really true. And agents are a little bit different from a lot of other service sectors, because we start working with a client, they don't necessarily pay us right away, although in some places they do. But in the States, if you take a listing, there's no money exchanged, but there's still, so an ideal client for somebody that takes a listing here in the States, I would say, is somebody that you love after they've put their signature on that listing contract. Because if you hate them from that moment on, they were never an ideal client.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So we talk about a lot of things, and Glenn, you talk about how to attract people online and how to do very, very strategic and tactical things to attract people in your local market. I guess the point that I want to make, first of all, is just, it's not just about attracting anybody. You can change who you attract by how you market, and you can take the same exact people and change how they behave during the client relationship by how you market.
Well, when you say, Matt, because that resonated with me big time. That's why I love hanging out with you, because what you say certainly works in my business for my clients being real estate agents. But one thing that just brings to mind is literally yesterday, I got a message from Matt Stein, who you guys met when you came down to Australia for that tour.
He's a beast.
And absolutely. And Matt just said that he was just given to become the executor of a 94-year-old lady's will. And she's still alive with us now. And she phoned him up and just said, Matt, I just want you to know that I know that you're going to say, sell the house or whatever. I just need you to know, can I make you an executor of my will? Mm-hmm. So that's how much she has a relationship with Matt for the last 20 years. He only met her when Matt got into the business, say 22 years ago. So she was 72 years old then, now 94. And she has such a good relationship with him from his prospecting activities. Now he's loved her into his life, so someone you love miles after you've cashed the check. So, he's loved this woman for 22 years. And not only is he going to be rewarded with her listing, but with the honor of knowing that this person trusts him enough to be an executor of her will. Not family, not friends, not a confidant, not a husband, a real estate agent. Yeah. So what that is a symbol of is Matt Steinway living that ethos in his marketplace. And that was always his thing, is in his marketing, in his newsletter, in his online presence, and in his social media presence and posts and things of that nature. His whole mission is to outcare his competition. Mm-hmm. And if he does that, and that's harder to do to many than many people might be thinking, well, how do you do that? Well, that's the sort of, if you have that in your head as that's what I'm going to do, whatever I notice people needing out there in the marketplace, say they are in the not so distant past when we've had those lockdown kind of situations and someone was, saying that they needed some essential items and they were cranky because they were forced to be locked down for 14 days, which is what they did in Australia. They forced some people, if they were at certain risk factors, they made you stay in your house for 14 days and not leave whatsoever. Well, dropping around, here's what one guy did. He put out a flyer, and this isn't what to do now if we're out and about or whatever the case may be, but pretend we're still in lockdown. This is the thinking. This is the mindset to have. He put out a flyer with his face on it that said, hi, it's Glenn Twiddle here. Not sure if you know me. And it said, what do you need? Just put your name, your mobile and your thing there. And do you need? And then he had some check boxes. Do you need a run to the bottle shop? Do you need a toilet paper run for essential supplies? Do you need someone to go to the post office with you? Do you just need someone to have a chat? There was like 6 or 8 check boxes there that someone could check. And he put 1,000 flyers out to his neighborhood. He put them in the letterbox and he put it on social media. He had no one request anything of him, right? So no one asked him to actually do anything. Mm-hmm. But he had about 30 people personally text him saying, nah, man, I'm all good. But I just want to say you're a freaking champion. Mm. You know what I mean? And so that was the attitude. It was the best flyer he ever did. He never had to do anything, even though, of course, he would have if someone said, yeah, bring me some toilet paper or whatever the case may be. But he never had to deliver on any of that. But he had the attitude of service and out caring. And it's that attitude in the case of Matt Steinway that's been rewarded with a $4.5 million GCI business. That's just him. That's not his company. And even though he owns the company, that's him and his personal production. Mm-hmm. And he does it in a way that that isn't forced, and it's just an incredible thing to watch. $4.5 million in commission checks come in, and out of, I suppose, him out caring his competition. Long way to sort of give you an example, Matt.
Yeah, incredible. And Greg, you've talked about your dad, having a lot of that same approach, very, very similar ethos, very similar mentality. And you absolutely can hang your hat on that. Now, I can break down the marketing of that a little bit, but like if you're going to hang your hat on that, like that has to come from a real place. And so Greg, tell me a little bit about just how that resonates with you and kind of watching your dad do that same thing growing up.
Well, his whole motto is bless and prosper before profit. That's his model.
Wow.
And, it is constantly give. And you know what, Matt, you and I and Glenn were all very lucky to be where we are in our lives, because all three of us have given and still give on such a consistent basis to such epic levels that people want to give pay the favor back, but it doesn't come overnight. It takes a long time for this to play up, because you got to put so much positivity out into the world for it to come back to you, because there's so much negative darkness out there that, your positive light's going to take a little while to shine through. But if you're persistent and consistent at it, then you're never, ever, ever going to lose. The man or woman who stops when they're like, oh my God, I've given for so long, I'm not getting anything back. Then all of a sudden they stop giving because they get selfish. And then that is when the problems start.
Well, that's I just grabbed off the bookshelf, Greg. I grabbed our friend Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. That's the principle.
Great book.
And that book, of course, that principle is give. And I think in real estate, there's only 3 jabs on that book. I think in real estate, there needs to be 30, just because of the sheer distrust that we have, that the community has for our vocation. So sort of jab, 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 right hook. But Greg, you just identified a massive way to just screw it up. If you think that it's a game, that if you go in there with the expectation of the right hook, your jabs are given in such a way they are almost ineffective, because they smell sales on them. They smell that ick on them. They can. It is almost, they can smell your commercial intent.
Yep.
And hence the right hook, and that feeling of psychological indebtedness that comes out of the jabs, out of the giving, it doesn't transfer. It's only when it comes from the right place up here, mate. And I'm sure you've seen that with your dad.
Well, yeah, but one of my favorite stories of all time, Glenn, is with you and one of your training partners, and what he did with his family and everyone else. They stayed behind during the wildfires of 19 in Australia, and he had a vocation prior to of being a cook, and he's very good at it. And he had these giant vats that he would cook, massive amounts of food, boil and clean water, give it to the wild animals that came in, give it to the firefighters, first responders. But he gave without ever looking for anything in response.
Yeah.
And he went vertical in his visibility, but he didn't do it for vertical visibility. He did it because he loved his community. That is the definition of love.
Yeah. Yeah, that was perfect. And no expectation of the return. And that's the point, is that, many times that right hook, that jab, that psychological indebtedness, that give. Well, when you finally receive, often it'll come from a place other than where you gave. It'll come from a seemingly unrelated place. And sometimes that'll be because there was a chain of events that led to it and you just didn't know about it. I mean, when you put out with that intent, you just never know who is talking about you behind your back about those good things. So sometimes there will be a direct chain that can be, what do they call it? Traced, or whatever they call it in our new language and parlance, words that I've never known until couple months back.
Our blockchain.
Tracked and traced.
And the tracing, what do they call it when you trace?
Contact tracing.
Contact tracing, Matt. So these words I never knew. But sometimes there will be no tracing, and it will be just as long as you're that right sort of person that thinks that way. I did have someone say to me, and here's a challenge for you, author of the book MicroFamous. Matt, someone said to me, Glenn, what do you do to make people kind of believe that you're that sort of a good person? What can you do? It was like, how do you fake being nice?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was asking to clarify. Because I heard that once. I'm like, so authenticity. How do I fake that? Okay.
How do I
yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
That's the thing is you can't fake it. So you better find from a marketing perspective, you better find something else to hang your hat on, which you, by the way, absolutely can. Right. So Matt Steinway's approach is very authentic to Matt. I want to out care other agents. I guarantee you, if I went into real estate in his market or anywhere near there and decided that, hey, I'm also a caring agent, like that's not going to work for me. So number one, you got to pick something that's authentic to you. You also have to pick something that's unique in your market. And you have to pick something that matters to the other person. So if it's not really authentic to you, it's not going to resonate with them, and they're not going to care that you care because they don't care about you. Right. Yeah. So that's a tricky one. Like it's really you got to take a very long-term
long play. Yeah. 25 years.
Yes.
25 years.
And Greg has a great example of his dad telling somebody 25 years ago, don't list with us because you shouldn't be selling. Hang on to this house. 25 years later, they circle around and they get a listing that's worth 10 times more. That guy sells the one house in California, goes off and pays cash for 2 houses in Texas because they told him they told him the truth. They told him something that came from a place of caring. But from a marketing perspective, if you're not that person, that's okay. Right. You can hang your hat on something completely different. Like our friend, Tim Rode, down in Manteca, California, his one thing that he hung his hat on and all of his marketing revolved around was, look, if you're ready to sell, call me, because when you call Tim, you better pack your bags. Like call Tim and start packing was the headline. Right. That has nothing to do with caring. That's to do with results. Right. So if you're a straight A, type A, if you're a high D on the disc drive, you don't give an F about the touchy-feely stuff, that's okay too. You still got to put you have to put yourself in the shoes of the other person. Some people want the caring. Some people they don't want a relationship with you. They just want people to get results. And that's okay too. That's a different market. That goes back to the idea of being micro-famous. It's not about being famous to everyone. It's about being Tom Cruise level famous to only the people that you care about and the kinds of people you want in your life. So if you're the person that just wants to get in there, you just want to have a business-like relationship, and you just want to get the damn house sold, then that needs to permeate everything in your marketing. Because if it does, you'll attract those people that like that kind of professional and don't care about the caring stuff. Those people go to Matt Steinway, and you'll carve out a niche for yourself with the people that don't care about that and they only want results. Like that's marketing, right? That's really figuring out who your ideal people are.
Mate, couldn't agree. As you were saying that, I'm like saying, that's Gary V is the right mentor for me. Grant Cardone is the right mentor for the get it done, the get it results, all of that sort of thing. So you'll find your right purveyor of whatever that service is, real estate, training services, buying a book. I got every book that Gary Vaynerchuk's ever written up there. I don't have any of Grant's. I've listened to his stuff. I've just sort of chosen that he's not my guy. Gary is,
Yep, exactly. Yeah. People are going to be drawn to who they're drawn to, but here's what the best of the best do. They don't try to put their whole self into all of their marketing. And this is, I think, the biggest mistake that everybody makes. It doesn't matter whether you're in real estate or not. One of the biggest mistakes that everybody in every industry makes, especially if they're a solo business person, is they go, but I like this over here, and I have this interest and this passion and this and this and this. I don't want to hold anything back from what I put into the public. And that is, to me, that is a selfish goal. If you don't hold anything back, if you refuse to package yourself in a way that makes it easy for people to understand who you are and what you do and what's unique about you, you're actually doing them a disservice. You're being inconsiderate to them because they just want to understand you fast and know if you're their right person. So
actually, I've been guilty of that. Matt, you might be able to unpack this for me, or Greg, feel free to comment on this, because to that point, when I do marketing, I go forward, unfortunately, and maybe I'm guilty of this, with the assumption that someone has seen all the other episodes of my show, so to speak. Like, it's like I'm coming from on this episode of Friends, and you've seen the first 6 seasons, so you know who I am, in that I don't account for the new viewer. And maybe that's a challenge, because I don't do that. I assume that because I don't hold anything back, so that means I'm just out there giving everything that I am, assuming that they already know the backstory, and perhaps that's a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Like think about Greg, who is the guy that that created Dilbert? Scott
Adams.
No
Scott
idea.
Adams. Okay. So Scott Adams talks about how he blended two different things to become who he is. Like he's not a high-level illustrator or even a very good cartoonist. He's not that. He's also not a great comedian. But you take those two things and blend them together and you get Dilbert. But notice what Scott Adams doesn't do. He doesn't talk about I don't know anything about Scott Adams, especially from the perspective of knowing Dilbert. Like you don't know anything else about the guy that created that comic strip. And if he tried to put more of his personality than that comic strip can handle, it would have been too unfocused to ever break through the noise and get popular. So I think that's one of like going back to the mistake that we make is we're trying to attract people. We don't get focused about who the right people are. And so as a result, we go out to the market and we talk about anything and everything. Right? And we just hope that by getting our name out there, that's going to be enough. It's never enough. It's never really been enough. But we fooled ourselves into thinking that because some people did it by brute force, by putting their name on bus benches and buses and the radio and stuff like that. And look, if you've got 5 or 10 grand, 15 grand a month to spend, like some of my friends do, by all means, go ahead and do it. But if you are the average agent or the average broker owner or the average team leader, that's not going to work for you. The thing that has to be done is you've got to cut through the noise. And that means getting really, really laser focused on who you're talking to and what you say to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I love, about some of the media you mentioned, if we talk about that, and Greg's the master of it. Greg does it through brute force really historically. And again, I know that Greg now has over the last few years, has his podcast and his online presence that just gets him some deals. Even though most of his sort of podcasting recordings are targeted at real estate agents, the members of the general public see it as well. And what I would say to real estate agents, the benches and the bus stops, the billboards and all of those outdoor media and all of those things, even flyers, cost-wise pale into insignificance than doing a good, well thought out Facebook Live, which many times your episodes go out live. So a Facebook Live that is to the point, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes long. It can't be too long. It can only be too boring. Deploy that Facebook Live, squeeze the juice out of that Facebook Live, and then throw $20 at that thing, locally target that marketing, and for $20, you will get more eyeballs on you and your brand and your voice and your story. Multimedia, meaning you got vision because you got visuals, you've got your name, you've got your voice and what your story is for like 1 to 2 cents per view, or maybe even if it's 10 cents per like 30-second view. I tell you what, if that's how much it costs, 10 cents to get someone to listen to you for 30 seconds and just get 30 seconds worth of what it is you're all about, you better do what Matt says and get yourself into that 30 seconds worth of time frame that you've got. But B, that is the best spent 10 cents you'll ever get in advertising, better than any of the aforementioned more traditional media.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and that's the key to making that work is to have your messaging down. Because if you have your messaging down and you go to the market with a Facebook Live and then you throw money against it and you do all those things that you talk about, it will draw the right people. If you're not sure who the right people are and you don't know what to say to them, then it doesn't matter how much money you throw at it. And you can throw a lot of money at it. And most of the time it won't work. For every person that I know that spends 5-10 grand a month on radio and different things like that are like kind of the brute force, Air Force, so to speak, like over the top kind of methods. I know 50 that spend the minimum to keep somebody else out of their market from doing it. Not because it works, but because they don't want somebody else doing it. And that's the dirty little secret about radio advertising. So yeah, like all these traditional methods, we have so much better, more effective methods of reaching people, but it still doesn't work any better than the old ways if you don't say anything new and different.
Well, I will disagree with you on that one. Here's how I'm going to disagree.
I'm shocked. Greg disagrees with me.
Let's go, Tinkerbell, and knock that little fairy dust off your wings. Look, what you're talking about in spending all that money and I've done it. I had a radio show that was very successful, but it cost me $12,000 a month, $2,500 a Sunday, per Sunday, that I would go into the radio for 1 hour at a time. Now I'd reach 50,000 people at a time, but again, it wasn't relevant to them. So again, my message to the general audience wasn't accurate. It's like you shooting a BB gun at a freight train. It felt really good to shoot at a big target, but it wasn't getting shit done, right? So here's something that we're going to be deploying this week, and this is something that for all of you guys, have you guys heard of geofences? Correct,
mm-hmm.
Glenn?
No, geofences. No.
So geofences are going to knock your fucking socks off. What they basically are, they're electronic fences that you can put around any geographic location. So it could be around a single house, an apartment building, a local library, a real estate office, a county, a city, a county, a country, whatever the fuck you want, however big you want to go. And anything that goes in or outside of that fence will get pinged on their smart devices. So what we're doing is we're dropping 1,412 geofences this week on some predictive analytics properties. And we are going to, get ready for this, for $2 a door for 30 days, we're going to drop 560,000 impressions on those 1,400 homes, all about me and my real estate team. So I'm going to be on every smart device in their home, 15 to 20 ads per day per property. At the end of it, 560,000 impressions will be sunk into their skull, not including my mass email, my mass text message, my phone calls, my social media campaign, and my postcards. Bitch, you are in my world. I'm going to wreck your skull, or I'm going to help you buy or sell a house. Either one's fine with me.
Either one.
Either one's fine with me.
Currently thinking through the dating applications of this geofencing ad.
Oh yeah, because you can go
really
every single
20 times a day. They're going to see your ugly mug on their smart device. This is a harbinger of terrible things to come.
And being real specific, Greg, where does it pop? Oh, sorry, go ahead. No,
I was going to say, Matt, every single guy out there will see your photo. I mean, female. I'm sorry.
So, Greg, let me specifically. How does it specifically pop up? So it's not on a social media kind of feed. It's is it popping up in these sort of reminders that are on your Android device or things of that nature?
So what it's going to be, any web page you go to, so MSNBC, CNBC, CNN, Fox, ESPN.
So anything that's probably part of the Google Display network.
Anything that has ads, we can push them to you. And they're not going to be static ads. They're going to be video embedded landing pages. So you're going to see me, you're going to hear me, you're going to like me. Once you click on me and you fill in the information for my offer I'm going to give you, then you come into my world. But it doesn't matter. As soon as you come onto my landing page, I've pixeled you. Now I can go back and retarget you on social media. So there's literally no way of getting away from me once this starts. So when we're talking about kind of how to kind of carpet bomb an area with traditional marketing, yes, it's very ineffective. But when you have the right sequence built in with custom follow-up, campaigns built in specifically behind that, then you're speaking to the people in the language they want to be spoken to in, and so they're going to engage with you because it's something that's relevant to them, not a mass shot of like, hey everybody, welcome to the Bay Area today. Here's a newsletter about the Bay Area, fun stuff to do. No one's going to do that. But if you say, hey Glenn, Brisbane, Australia, here's your local market update. Here's what's going on. Here are the trends. Here's where your projections are in the next 12 months. Something that speaks to you, from Matt, Nebraska, San Diego, for me, Walnut Creek. If someone speaks to you specifically, then you have a higher likelihood of capturing their attention. I mean, is that not true that you guys would both agree with that?
Yeah, the Robert Collier principle. He says in this Robert Collier sales book, he says you need to enter the conversation that's already going on in the mind of the consumer. And if you can achieve that with your marketing piece, then you've done a great job. So, Greg, with your approach, you'll find out of 10,000 people, there'll be 17 people already needing the services of what you're doing. And I'm hoping that you make enough an impact with that strategy to get 8 of them to call you, list 6, pocket, $100,000.
That's a win all the way around. And the thing is that like the message I'm going to be dropping for that 560,000 impressions once they click on me, if I get a half of 1%, I'm looking at like 15 deals, like within 30 days. That is a shit ton in our area to do. And, you know, it's all about a VIP program. We're talking about, you know, how COVID has impacted in the past, in the present, and in the future people's incomes and their businesses. We see businesses have shut down. They are shutting down. They're going to shut down. So people, what we're trying to do is we're trying to maintain human decency. And Glenn or Matt or Greg, if any of us were approached by a real estate professional and said, hey man, I know that you're trying to sell your home. I'm super sorry that you lost your business, you're losing your business, and going to lose your business or whatever else. You know what? Why don't we do this? Why don't we front you $10,000? We'll get your home in tip-top shape. We'll get you top dollar for your property. Won't cost you a dime in interest. And then, you know, just give us a referral. That's the offer that we're giving to people. So I'm speaking specifically to an issue that's going on, and I'm giving them a way out so they look amazing to their friends, their family, and their children. That will resonate with anybody, anytime, because no matter if it's COVID, post-COVID, pre whatever BS is going to come down the road in our global history and in the future, people always want to feel like they mean something. They always want to feel like they're valued. They always want to look good to the people around them. Even if they fucking hate the guy down the street, they still want to look better than his ass, right? And so we want to give people that ability to do it. And that message is so powerful. We have people jumping out of trees, not physically, there's no one harming themselves, but people are coming at us in droves going, hey, tell me more about this offer, man. Tell me how you do this. I did this for a client last year, guys. I helped him net more than $200,000 more in the sale of his home by a $10,000 investment into his home. He was a $2 million property, and he had cracked tiles, cracks in the walls. He had no landscaping. The pool, it was a green disaster. I mean, it was just a shit show. But you know what? We gave him decency. And that's the message that I'm putting out there. And that's the message I think we should all put out there, is give decency to your fellow man, to your fellow woman, to the person around you. Find a way to bring value. Glenn, like your client, he didn't cook food. He gave decency to the people around him. He gave them fresh food. The koalas that were coming out there were burned. The other animals are coming out there injured. He watered them. He gave them a place of refuge. That's the way your mind needs to work. Give refuge, give decency, give humanity, give love, give passion to the people around you. They will never forget you. They will forget you if they take their crusty bum side and they put it on your face on a bench. They're never going to remember that, okay? But they will remember if you give them a bottle of water on a hot day.
So, Matt, we've gone through a bunch of principles there that good luck unpacking all that and giving some actionable ideas to live a life of freedom. But I've identified a few things. Let me try and channel my inner Johnson again and try and get this. So some takeaways, some action steps you could take. First off, what I had to do when I first learned a principle like this was about designing an avatar of who your ideal client might be. Yeah. And the only reason I did that, well, what I did with that, and so what that is imagine in your mind who your ideal client might be. Ideally, and just describe them. So for me, it was the way I described a typical real estate agent that resonates with me. It wasn't an ex-lawyer or an ex-accountant, a really high cerebral professional who got into real estate and that's their path. For me, the ideal real estate agent was a brickie, like a working person, because I'm from a working class town, was a brickie who did his back in, who could no longer lay bricks. He couldn't be on the tools. So a mate of his says, you're pretty good down at the local pub. You should get into real estate. So it's like a normal bloke who can't do this and real estate will take him. So whenever I wrote an email or a sales letter or a marketing piece or a Facebook Live, I'm not talking to, even though to Greg's point, I am distributing broadly, I'm talking and communicating as if there's one person at the other end of that camera or at the other end of that email. So I'm writing to my avatar, that brickie who has done his back in and can't lay bricks anymore. He's in real estate. So I'm talking to him, even though, and then there's the next principle that Greg just mentioned, you've got to go broad and bulk and you've got to get 560,000 impressions. Now, everything Greg said, if I was a rookie, and I'm not a rookie, I know a few things. But if I was trying to follow Greg's advice, when I heard terms like geofencing and the Google display network and the ads network and blah, 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 and it would do my head in. So what you've got to do, guys, is just bite off as much of that as you can chew. And if the most you can chew is maybe the Google Ads network does your head in, but you can just get your head around defining an audience, targeting a geographic area on Facebook Ads Manager. Maybe you can just get that one skill. So you can target that and letterboxes and phone calls. Because what Greg's alluding to is absolutely saturating every media that a human being, that your avatar, your person you've described, could possibly be looking at. They're looking at a cell phone, a desktop screen, a letterbox, a SMS, a phone call, and a door knock. You might have all these media, or a radio and a newspaper, a magazine. You're never going to master all of those media after listening to one podcast. You got to just find one, perfect it, get your messaging right, out care and get that feeling of caring through that media, systemize it, then outsource it and get either a staff member of yours or someone in your team to manage the continual deployment of that that system, and then move on to the next one. Because you're never going to, be able to deploy everything that Greg just said when he said the postcards and all of those. He said about 6 media that Greg is going to dominate his area with. You've got to chip away at those and take it down in bite-sized chunks. So,
dude, it's taken me 20 years, and I'm working with some incredibly intelligent people who are way smarter than me, and it's taken me almost 6 months to understand exactly what I barfed out in there in 2 minutes. But I mean, once you get your head around just one thing, like Glenn was just saying, just take action. Don't sit back. I mean, if it's pick up the phone and, just doing some hand dials. If it's, doing a social media post, if it's doing Facebook messengers that you send out to 15 or 20 people, if it's the fact you walk down your street and you say hi to a couple of neighbors and you build up the relationship. I mean, it's consistently, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, it's consistently and persistently about taking action. Just never stop. It could be one thing at a time. You do one thing at a time. That's 365 things you guys have done differently than you did last year. Imagine the cascade effect that's going to take place in 1, 2, 5 years, and the ripple effect that's going to take place on other people. People won't stop talking about you if you do something positively to help them. They will stop talking about you if you ask something without giving any value, without a doubt.
Well, as always, I disagree with Greg on everything. But,
God damn it! I thought I was being Mother Teresa right there.
Maybe in another episode we'll talk about the myth of the magical flurry of activity. That'd be a fun topic to talk about because So let's do this. Let's wrap up this episode so we have time to record another shorter episode that everyone that's listening can look forward to with the three of us on together again.
Hold on. Cut episode. Here's our next episode. Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. I'm Matt Johnson. My name is Greg McDaniel. This is Glenn Twiddle. Thank you for being with us. We're gone. Good night, everybody. We're out of here.
That's the next one. It's like that would be like if the band says they're going to take an encore, but they just say bye and then leave and never come back.
Yes.
All right, Glenn, what's the best way for people to reach out and get in touch?
I reckon here's a weird thing that I've never said as a call out. Hey, you can find me. Everyone can find me. Just you're not a marketer if you need to do anything other than Glenn Twiddle. But
not with a name like yours.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm going to suggest there's another episode, and you might have to dig through the archives of Real Estate Uncensored. But if you wanted to take immediate action and you wanted to sort of take action, then don't pay me, don't do anything. There was an episode of Real Estate Uncensored where we cut live to my Facebook channel. So you'll have to go to the Real Estate Uncensored page, go to YouTube, go Real Estate Uncensored Glenn Twiddle, and you'll find an episode where I show you how to take that first step in taking action on those, and we showed a geographic targeting on Facebook Live. So go find that episode. There's your call to action. Go do that.
That was a great episode, by the way. Yeah. I enjoyed that one a lot.
And Greg, what's the best way to reach out to you, and why would someone want to do that?
Because I'm a teddly cuddle bear. That's not how it's supposed to come out.
No,
get that printed on a t-shirt. Yeah, exactly.
Scene.
That's so appropriate. Teddly Cuddy Bear, Greg McDaniel. I should have that printed on a t-shirt and sent to you, Greg. Greg, the Teddly Cuddy Bear.
And that's it.
Yep. All right, Greg, what's the best way to reach out and connect?
Well, I'm a teddly cuddle bear, so I want you guys to hit me up, and you guys can call me on my cell phone. It's in the US 925-915-1978. If you guys are in Australia or anywhere else around the world, go to Facebook, hit me up on a DM. Love to chat with you guys there, answer any questions for you. I can help you console you on why Matt does not want you to come over on Saturday mornings at 6 a.m. to clean his car. I don't understand why. I've tried it for years. He just doesn't want me to do it. So if you guys want to understand why, go ahead and hit me up a message there. But that's how you get a hold of me. But Matt, the real important question is, how do they get a copy of MicroFamous?
Well, if you're listening in the States, it's easy. Just go to microfamousbook.com. If you are elsewhere around the world,
on the way.
You do have 2 copies on the way. If you're anywhere else around the world, just go to your country's version of Amazon and look it up there, and they're all available. You just have to make sure that you're on your country's version of Amazon. So I can't give you like a specific link. I have them, so if you're connected to me on Facebook, just message me, and I'll give you the direct link. But that's the best way to get it. So if you're listening to this because you caught Glenn's name and you're one of Glenn's crowd in Australia, go to Amazon in Australia and get the book, and they will ship it to you. And then speaking of Australia,
I wish I'd known that, Matt. What I did is I went to your site.
I
bought your upsell, right? So I bought the upsell just so you'd have enough money in the account for me to say, "Hey, man, send me a couple of copies, will you? Don't worry about the upsell. I got this. Just give me more copies."
Yes, that was hilarious and very endearing, Glenn. I appreciate it. But speaking of, in Australia, if you guys are listening to this, reach out to Glenn, connect with him, because the same thing that Greg talked about being able to link up with us, partner up with us. That same thing is available in Australia now. We haven't been able to really talk about it. It's been a long time in the works, but we are excited that it's finally available to you guys down under. So you get to link up and partner with us, get into our world, get a whole bunch of stuff, including training materials and access to the 3 of us and all that fun stuff. So reach out to Glenn for more details on that. So
yeah, what I would say is I'll just add to that, because we haven't even talked about that. That was March 2018, I think we've been talking about this. It's over 2 years later when we first talked about this. And really, it's a way, guys, if you're sick of paying me my coaching fees and you just want me for free, well, then reach out, talk to either one of the 3 of us, and we'll show you how literally we can be your business partners, only you're going to keep all the money. I don't know how that works. They talked me into it somehow. I don't know how that works. But yeah, we're your business partners, directly hand-holding you. The same thing people have paid me $30,000, $50,000 a year for. Someone else is paying the bill for on your behalf, and I still got to work hard, but it's all right. It's all good.
That's right. Eventually, you'll get that. Eventually, we'll have a yacht and a villa that you can stretch out on. Eventually,
I'm just jabbing, folks.
Well,
I'm jabbing.
I have a mini villa and a small yacht. How's that?
So a 75-foot yacht or a 200-foot yacht and a 10-bedroom house? No, right?
Yeah, sure. Right? Why not? I'm gonna be Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. I'll get his yacht when he decides to sell it. The one he did the NFL draft here from, the other one.
Oh no! See, I'm gonna take over Bezos's new $400 million yacht. That's my inheritance. I don't know Bezos, but he knows me, and we're gonna get together. We're gonna trade off. I'm gonna get the yacht. It's gonna be magical.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can give him that shirt, the Teddly Cuddle Bear. In exchange, it'll be great.
I'm going to come over there and give you a haircut, okay? You better behave yourself.
All right. Well, with that being said, thank you guys. Appreciate it, everybody, for watching. Greg, should we Ty? Let's. In honor of Glenn, what other kind of bow can we possibly attach to this episode other than the bright pink?
You can't. You literally can't.
Tie a pink bow around this episode. Let's call it good.
All right, here we go, guys. Hey, Glenn, you are just a G amongst G's. Thanks for hanging out with us on our tiny little show over here. We 2 people are listening. It's me and my cat. In Matt. But thank you guys for listening. We love you. We could not do this show without you. And if you guys could go to Amazon, go to Amazon and give us a review. Go to iTunes and give us a review, or anywhere else you guys watch the podcast. Give it a 5-star, not a 2-star. 5-star, not a 2-star, because a 2-star doesn't do anything for us. 5-star gets us in front of more people. Please tag Glenn in this, because he is absolutely incredible. And if you guys even think you like what he's going to say, wait till you get to meet this man and just how generous and kind and loving and intelligent he is. He will blow doors on anything you've ever experienced in your life before when it comes to real estate marketing. You will be the mayor, the celebrity, and the legend in your area. So guys, thank you. Here's a pink bow. I can't talk. Here's a pink bow on the show. All right. Peace out, ninjas. We gone.